Ballers, what is up? We are here at the Dennis Ball Show, Friday Night Live. Good evening, Ballers. Welcome. And welcome to all the Ballers watching the replay. After this broadcast, we're going to put timestamps, which will lead you to different parts of the video. So if you want to skip ahead to the Beatles song talk or the reactions to crazy Beatle fashion, you can do that, right? Who do we got in the chat? We have Scummy Mummy. We got EC Fan Addict, who is in the chat and in the Zoom. We got Thommy Burns here. What's up, Thommy Burns?
How you doing, Dennis Ball?
I'm doing great, man. We're going to talk about Rubber Soul. We got Georgia
Been a little while,
Media. Huh? It has been a minute. And it's actually, speaking of taking a minute, like I told you, it's taken a minute for the comments to show up in the fireplace. But I can see that my ball, yeah, my man, Georgia Constitution Media, Mark Rojas.
My
is in the
ball.
house. What's up, Mark Rojas? All right, cool, guys. Let's see here. So this is our special guest, guys, pop culture writer and Beatles connoisseur, Thommy Burns. And we're going to talk about our favorite Beatles record, Rubber Soul. And we have cool facts and stories about every song. And then we're going to react to some Beatles fashion. And I want you guys to all say if they're fab or drab. So we'll do it'll be like a smash. One of those. It'll be fun, man. All right, cool, man. So let's see here. We have a busy lineup, guys. So let's go to Chuckleballs for our first set of dad jokes, man. You can park in the back. All right. Oh, wrong room. Wrong way. Woo. All right, we're at Chuckleballs. Forget you saw that.
It's live.
Dudes, we're here at Chuckleballs, and we've got Super Ball is the bouncer back there. Super Ball, you just let them in, man. They're with me. Get it? Super Ball? Super Ball? All right, guys. All right, cool. All right, I got some jokes here for you. Thommy Burns, I don't know why my chat box isn't working. Hold on. Oh, wait. Was it mutinated? Hold on. Can you guys chat things? All right, let's see. Scummy Mummies. All right, cool. My eyeballs. Yes, it's true. They're cool. So, why is parking $10? Or did somebody just steal your car? Really? You're kidding me. No way. Did somebody really just steal your car, Georgia Constitution Media? All right, hold on. I have jokes for you guys. John, Thommy, why did John massage Yoko's feet? Did you ever hear this one I wrote? It's one of my own.
They spent I don't know about
You know, yes. You know why? You know why he did? He did it because she asked him to rub her soul. She asked him to rub her souls. Rub her souls, get it? All right, cool. You know, John and Paul were only really fighting, man, until Paul became a vegetarian. Did you guys know that?
No.
Scummy Mummy, yeah, it was. Paul never had beef after that. After he became a vegetarian, he never had beef with John or anybody else. He never had beef at all. All right, I'll put that as a no laugh. Can you hear my little? I have like a little yes.
No laugh.
No. That's a no laugh. All right, here's a good one. Karl Marx is Karl Rojas. Mark Rojas. This goes out to you. Karl Marx is a historically famous philosopher, but nobody ever mentions his sister, who invented the starter pistol. On your marks. On your marks. I'm giving myself a yes laugh on that one. On your marks. All right, cool. You parked across the street, Scummy Mummy. All right, cool. Hold on, I got a couple more. I was abducted by aliens, guys. They made me wash my hands and eat my vegetables and clean my room, and it turns out I was on the mothership. Turns out I was on the mothership. They made me eat my vegetables. Oh, let's give it up for all the bombs all out there. All right, I got just a couple more, and then we're going to go talk about this stuff now. I invented a car. Speaking of the first song on this record, Drive My Car, which is, only on the UK version, I guess.
There you go.
I invented a car that only moves when you're silent. It really goes without saying. All right, that's not a good one. That's a no laugh. And I got one more. Ringo Starr failed as a farmer, but his beats were so sick that he knew he'd succeed as a drummer. His beats were sick. Because it means two things, Tommy. It means his food beats and also his drum beats.
It's kind of like the Beatles. The name could mean
Yes.
two things. Wow.
KR is in the house. KR, thanks for joining.
Look at
man.
you.
I'm so glad you could make it. All right, cool. Well, that was great. I appreciate everybody adoring my set of dad jokes from Chuckleballs. Now let's go to the record reaction room, Thommy Burns, and talk about our favorite record, or one of our favorite records, Rubber Soul. Now, do you remember the first time you heard this record?
I don't remember the first time I heard the record because I would have been very, very young. So my family had this record, and there I am with my sister. Look.
That's Thommy Burns as a baby. So he was born holding, yes, Georgia Constitution Media, thank you. He was born holding this record.
Yep.
That's how into the Beatles he is.
Rubber Soul was with me from birth. It was. There's the proof.
Yep, exactly. It was that. And then you still had it. You could see it on the wall there. Look at all the Beatles stuff.
Oh,
first
yeah.
of all. You love Paul McCartney.
Where do you get this stuff? So there's that same Rubber Soul record is on my bedroom wall when I was probably about 11 or 12 there.
Yep. I mean, it really it made the rounds, man. That is awesome.
Yeah, Rubber Soul was with me too. You think I liked Paul? A little bit of Paul on the wall.
I know. Yeah, he's your favorite Beatle, I take it.
Paul's my man.
He's amazing. Have you ever seen Paul McCartney play live?
Yeah, I have several times.
Are you gonna go to his Got Back tour that's coming back now?
So to go see him at SoFi Stadium, I don't think I'm gonna do that this time. I've seen him, and I'm really good with the times I've seen him.
Right. I'm on the same boat. I saw him last time he came around. It was a fantastic show.
Yep.
It was redonkulously expensive, but hey. It was worth it, but I don't need to go back. All right, let's get right to it. A lot of these are from thebeatlesbible.com, and there's a couple of other books that I'll mention, and I'll put them in the description. But we're going to talk primarily first, you guys, about the UK pressing of this, which is sort of the canon of the list of songs. But then we're going to talk about the US version, which is what Tommy grew up with, and which he prefers, the Capitol pressing.
I do. I really do.
Cool. All right, now. This was a major record, Tommy, because it was a sort of turning point for the band.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah, I think this is where everything changed. This is where people stopped kind of being caught up in the visuals and the hype, and they really started listening to the band.
Yes, right. Yeah, and where the band sort of, I believe, started realizing that they had a voice that people were listening to. And they started being sort of more thoughtful about messaging a little bit.
Well, they did. So when they were singing about love, they were singing about it in a very different way. And it wasn't the boy-girl stuff. And even when it was, you'll see that the content lyrically is very intense in some ways. I'm sure we'll get into that song by song, but it wasn't normal relationship content,
And John was enjoying a songwriting peak here. Like, he had Girl in My Life and Norwegian Wood all on this record, which are huge, huge hits, which are well-loved. All right, so let's see. Designer Charles Front. Let's just go give a quick little, hold on a second. It was 1965, recorded in November, and then released in December, which was kind of standard. They released them right before Christmas.
Had to get it out for Christmas. That's right.
Exactly. Produced by George Martin, of course. And let's see here. Let me cover out from. Hold on a second, man. I'm trying to find the title here of Rubber Soul. Well, you can see it there. The font was designed by Charles Front. And that bubble lettering was super influential. Like it showed up everywhere after this.
Oh yeah, they wanted it
But
to reflect the style of the photo, and it all went together beautifully. And then you saw that kind of lettering everywhere, all through the '60s.
um, and let's see here, yeah, totally. And that logo sold in 2008 for £9,600. The artwork for it.
That's a lot of lettuce.
And then, Robert Freeman's photo, which we were talking about, was taken in Weybridge. He had taken pictures for the cover with the Beatles. Sorry, guys. And this is what it looked like, He did a whole, hold on a second. He did a whole series of these photos, right? Let me get rid of myself, man, because I'm in the way here.
And he did with the Beatles, and he did Beatles for Sale. Some really iconic imagery of the Beatles.
Yeah, totally. And then giving them a preview of it. He was giving them he was like showing them these things on slides, right?
Yeah,
He was like projecting them on a piece of cardboard.
Well, if you go, but I'll back it up a little further than that. So he had told them, I want it to be really monochromatic. And so I want you just dressing in browns, and we'll have the browns and the greens. And this was in Weybridge. And this was in Lennon's garden. So this was in John Lennon's garden. And George and Ringo lived locally, but Paul had to travel from London. So you can see Paul looks a little road weary here, right? But he wanted it to be monochromatic, and EMI would not foot the bill for him to reproduce the photo that way. So he knew that it was going to be in color. So he wanted it to be really toned down, earthy colors. And he's showing the pictures to the Beatles, and they all look like this. They look really good. But this particular photo, he was projecting them onto a white piece of cardboard. And as he put this photo up, the cardboard tipped back and it stretched the Beatles' faces. And the story goes that they all went, that's what we want. How do you make the photo look like that? That's what we want the album cover to look like. So there you see that really stretched out that goes into the lettering, and it just works beautifully.
Yeah, totally. You can see how it's just, and it's so much cooler,
Yeah.
And it works with the whole concept of Rubber Soul, the cover, the cover art and the font and everything else.
And that era, we were just starting to go into that trippy, groovy era, right? So I kind of feel high when I look at the picture,
Yeah, totally, man. It's so true. All right, hold on a second here. Cool. Yeah, you got all that stuff in there. Great. And yeah, Paul. I have that Paul telling the story. And that's blah blah blah. All right, let's go into the songs. Side one. Here's side one of the UK version. Hold on. Dennis Ball's gone. What the heck? I'm back.
Where'd you go, Dennis? Right. Welcome back.
I just went backstage for a moment. Sorry, guys.
I thought maybe I should have left and met you somewhere or something.
So here's what the songs are. Drive My Car, man. So this had some overt sexual themes. It was about a woman. I never realized this, but it was like the person talking is a woman talking to a man saying, "Baby, you can drive my car," which of course is a old blues euphemism for sex.
It is. It is. Maybe I'm your driver. Those kinds of things.
Yes, exactly. But yes,
I want to be your driver. Yeah.
I want to be your driver. But apparently it was golden rings. Have you heard that, Tommy? So it was like instead of when he originally drive my car, it was, baby, that's a golden ring.
That was I can give you golden rings.
But he thought it was terrible because he was like, once you go rings, you start rhyming things, and then you're doomed. You start saying things as the rhyme.
Well, one of them said, I like it, but that's a crap lyric,
Yeah, exactly. And exactly. It was like, basically, I'm looking at this. I won't read Paul's whole quote, but he was like, the tune was nice, and he liked the melody, and John couldn't think of anything. And then they had a break, and they had a cigarette or a cup of tea, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, because this was a point where they were doing a lot of drugs, actually.
Tea. They had tea.
Tea, exactly. And they came back, and it became Drive My Car instead of Golden Rings. It's funny. It says, it was wonderful because this nice tongue-in-cheek idea came in suddenly there was a girl there, a heroine of the story, and
Hmm.
it developed and had a little sting in it, you know. So the arrangement was suggested by George Harrison. He was listening to Respect, which the Otis Redding version, where
Right.
the bass line and the guitar play the same line, so it has this like
Mhm.
power to it. So so in any case, um, I have just so much information here, man, but I'm just giving a quick. And then they played a lead over it. That was George Harrison was talking about that in Crawdaddy. All right, Norwegian Wood. All right, so let's get to this Norwegian Wood murder thing.
There's a lot to unpack with Norwegian Wood.
Okay. This is first of all, this is one of the first Western pop songs, not the first, but one of the first to feature a sitar. And it was about an extramarital relationship that Lennon was having at the time, as we spoke about earlier. And so John was on. I'll tell the story, and I know you have more details probably to add, Thomas. But John was on. He was on a skiing holiday with his wife Cynthia, and he was with George Martin and his wife, his future wife Judy Lockhart Smith. And George Martin injured himself while they were skiing. And so John was writing songs for Rubber Soul, and one of the songs he was writing in the hotel bedroom was Norwegian Wood, and they were all right. Now, he was writing this right in front of his wife, this song about having an affair. I mean, talk about having a big ball. Right? What's up, scummy mummy? And so, you know, it was influenced by Dylan and stuff, but yes, and then basically John told Playboy that the or Peter sorry, what was that say? Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, John told Playboy, but that it was Peter Asher had a flat that was done out in Norwegian wood, which is like wood paneling. And like so it was like this wood paneling, and it was a wood. I always thought it was like a beautiful woods in Norway with like a cabin and this woman, and it was like this fanciful song, but it was about kind of a sleazy hookup in a room with cheap siding.
I always pictured
And
it as a deep wood and a very atmospheric and almost like a
nice,
treehouse
right?
vibe.
You assume it was nice, you know.
It was nice up here.
But they said it was really cheap pine, you know. And then she makes him sleep in the bath, and finally, Paul McCartney says she makes him sleep in the bath, and finally, in the last verse, I had this idea to set the Norwegian wood on fire as a revenge, and so we did it very tongue in cheek. She let him on, and then she said, "You better sleep in the bath," and so in our world, the guy had to have some sort of revenge, and so. It could have been meant I lit a fire to keep myself warm, but wasn't the decor of her house wonderful? But it didn't. I mean, it meant I burned the bleeping place down as an act of revenge, and then we left it there and went into the instrumental. It's about the guy murdering the woman.
And I never heard that. That's a very sinister.
I mean,
I pictured him lighting a fire, warming his hands. Ooh, isn't it good?
Yeah.
Norwegian wood.
Isn't it good, Norwegian? And I used to play that at weddings, you guys. All right. Crazy.
And now you know.
And the sitar, George, you know, bought it at like a secondhand shop and just like sort of tuned it up and just made something up. He had never played it really.
If not the first record that had sitar, it was certainly the first one that most Westerners heard.
Yes,
you know, to have sitar on a Beatles record, because in the movie Help, there was that scene where they're in an Indian restaurant and there's Indian music. And
yes,
in England, the Help album had all Beatles songs, but in America, it was released as a movie soundtrack, so it had all the score as well. So the film score had all this Indian music, and apparently that's where George heard this style, and he said he was very interested in it anyway. So when they're casting about for an arrangement for Norwegian Wood, he said, why don't we try this? I think I can make this work. And he, like you said, he picked out that melody just to go along with what, you know, John.
Yeah, it's nuts. He didn't, he kind of tuned it up and just sort of faked it. And it's like sublime. He found the notes.
And whether or not he was playing it correctly, then he certainly, you know, with Ravi Shankar, he learned to play properly. And that was a big part of, if you hear 60s music where it's designed to kind of be a 60s homage, you have to have sitar in it because it's such a
Now it's iconic, right?
yeah, iconic sound.
What's up, bag man? How's it going, brother?
Woo-hoo.
All right, you won't see me, man. Mal Evans played Hammond organ on this. He was
Yeah,
kind of like their bouncer at the Cavern Club, and then he became their roadie, and I think probably sort of security because he was a big guy.
he was a big dude, and he was always with him. He was kind of a gentle giant. Everything you hear about him, he was such a sweet guy. But for him to get a name credit on a Beatles album, that's pretty cool.
I'm sure that was, yeah, he was there. He was with them all the time. If you watched Get Back, you saw that he got the anvil.
He was always there.
Silver Hammer.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, he had a tragic end, you know. I might make a video just about Mal Evans because he's a really cool guy.
Very
He produced
cool.
Bad. So it was written by Paul about his then faltering relationship with Jane Asher. And he wrote it like he had a room at her house, her parents' house.
Yeah.
And he wrote a bunch of songs there. And meanwhile, says my internet connection's on the table. Meanwhile, he was cheating on her left and right. And then all those songs where he's like, you won't see me and stuff. Yeah, it's because he's cheating on her constantly. I mean, he admitted as much, you know? It's crazy. But I mean, he just was like, I was constantly surrounded by women.
Well,
and then he was like, go ahead.
And he was living with the Ashers, which was so funny because there's another song in this album that's also, written with her specifically in mind. And he was dating her, but he was living in their home, the family home. And
I know, it's crazy.
He was up on the top floor. That's where he wrote Yesterday, was in that room. And he had this kind of Peter Pan existence for a while. So the other Beatles bought their own homes, and Paul was living with his girlfriend's family. And to get out at night, he would climb out of his bedroom window, and he had an arrangement with the guy that lived next door that he would shimmy across the roof basically through the other guy's house. And that's how he would kind of fool the fans once they figured out where he was. But he lived that way for years.
And he was like, he basically, everybody let him do it. And they were just like, oh my gosh, it's Paul McCartney. The parents were like, please move in.
The parents were there. He so charmed everybody.
Really?
It was almost like he went, and there's all these women around, and everyone would go, oh, Paul, okay.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so here's a couple of quick facts before we move on to the next one. Last song recorded for the album. It was done in a 13-hour session to finish Rubber Soul that began at 6 p.m. on 11 November 1965 and ended at 7 a.m. the next morning. So they went all night. And it was 3 minutes and 23 seconds, which was the longest Beatles song to date. Can you imagine? 3:23.
It's an epic.
Was the longest. I know. All right, so Nowhere Man was John Lennon wrote that about himself. Like it was self-depreciating.
Yeah.
Which I never realized. I always thought it was about kind of a square or like conservative 60s guy who's not hipped into the hippie lifestyle kind of thing. But no, it's about John. Like he was criticized by some critics, and he was, they said he was lazy, and he was not, and he wrote this song, right? And he was trying to write a song, and he was trying to write a song,
Yeah.
And he couldn't do it, and then he just gave up and laid down and he was like,
That's when it came to him.
Nowhere man.
Yeah, that's when it came to him.
Yes, and that's when it came to him. He, in a moment of total
loathing,
doubt and loathing.
He was lying on the bed
Nowhere.
or the couch or whatever. He was lying down, just looking at the ceiling, and that's when it came to him, like, Nowhere Man. And then it just wrote itself. Nowhere Man in his nowhere land, nowhere plans.
And he says, and Paul said we were always forcing Abbey Road staff to do things they didn't want to do. Nowhere Man was one. I remember we wanted very trebly guitars, and they're about like the most trebly guitars we've ever heard on record. And the engineer said, all right, I'll put it on full treble. And we said, that's not enough treble. And so we made him, he said, that's all we got. That's the only part. And they said, well, then put it through another set of faders and put the treble up on that.
Well, and you
And
know
if
when
that's not through, we'll do it through another set of faders.
Rubber Soul was one of 2 records that George Martin remixed in 1987 when they were released on CD. And if you listen to the different mixes, he toned down the guitar on Nowhere Man, especially that first when they do the vocal part and then it goes and it's obnoxious on the original mix. And he toned it down, and I can always tell when I'm listening to that mix because it's not as good. So the Beatles were right about that. The obnoxious guitars sound right. Maybe it's because I grew up with the obnoxious mix.
Wow. Dang, I'm gonna have to check that out.
Do a side-by-side comparison.
Yeah, I will.
First chord.
Totally will. All right, guys, let's move on to Think for Yourself. Let's see here. Which is a George Harrison
That one's
song.
George.
Yeah, he claimed not to remember its origins, though he's, he made a self-depreciating statement. He said, "Think for Yourself must be written about somebody from the sound of it, but all this time later, I don't quite recall who inspired it at the time. Probably the government."
That actually, that tracks.
It really does, and so get this, prior to the recording, George Martin taped the group rehearsing the song.
Mm-hmm.
The Beatles were aware of this, and they deliberately played to the microphones, and the recording was mostly unused, but a 6-second segment of the group practicing harmonies found its way into Yellow Submarine, the film.
Yep.
When they revived the mayor of Pepperland. Interesting bit of trivia. Boy, they're deep in.
That's why you have that just
deep into the vaults.
Little acapella clip in the movie. And have you heard that tape of them rehearsing "Think for Yourself"?
No, I haven't. Is it possible to hear it easily?
It's fantastic. Yeah, it's pretty widely available on bootlegs. And there's some of the Rubber Soul bootlegs will have that as a bonus track. But I don't want to get too deep in the weeds here, but it's a really interesting look into the process because they're doing the harmonies, they're rehearsing, but then John goes off for several minutes talking about a Humphrey Bogart movie that he watched on television the night before.
Oh, cool.
And so then they're all talking about Humphrey Bogart, and you get a real sense of these guys in the studio just hanging out and, BSing about Humphrey Bogart, and then they're back to music.
I love that about the Get Back documentary when they were talking about Fleetwood Mac and stuff like that. It was cool.
Yeah.
All right. The word, like you were saying before, the first time the Beatles sang about love as a notional concept, as they say in the BeatlesBible.com, instead of being like "she loves you," they're talking about love as a force for good in the world and a thing that you should strive for and stuff. And and I'm just going to say, yes, Paper Bag Man Channels is fantastic. And he's almost doing like a I Am the Walrus thing with costumes and stuff. So it's cool, and he's a musician. So anyway, yes, the word love.
So
thoughts?
It's funny you mentioned "She Loves You," and even that was a progression because before that it would typically in pop music be "I love you," or "You love me," or "She loves me." But this was
right.
Hey, I was a third person, but she loves you, man. And then the word became, it wasn't about "I love you, you love me," or "she loves anybody." It was love as a concept that could potentially change the world. And you got to say the word, and the word is love. And then John said in an interview, well, the word could be God. The love could be God, but we just use the word love. It could be anything. And it's funny because if you think, well, the word could be God, or it could be, the word could be, I think he said pot, or it could be anything, but the word is love. And then it becomes very, it's funny to think of the people who might have, blazed up and just like really thought hard on, oh man.
What word is it?
Say the word and you'll be free. The word is love, man.
Yes, it is. And they did it like a preacher.
Yeah.
It's done like a sermon. And, like I was saying before, it shows that they kind of knew that they had a voice now, like they had an influential voice to people who were listening. People were taking them seriously.
Well, and they were starting
to. It seems.
Yeah. Definitely. They were starting to talk about civil rights, and they were starting to talk about Vietnam. And it was starting to reflect in the music that it wasn't, which is why I say that this record kind of changed everything. It changed the course of their creative careers.
Which I mean, I would argue changed the course of rock and roll in a sense, like because people start it really. I mean, they weren't the only rock and roll band out there, but they were leading the pack. All right, Michelle. All right, this song was one of Paul McCartney's oldest songs. He started writing it in 1959, and he composed it on his first guitar, the Zenith, that he still owns. And he was left-handed, so he learned the chords upside down back in the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
You knew that, and so
he had righty guitars that he would hold the wrong way.
And his playing style on this was unique at the time. Like, you hear this in classical guitar, and you hear it a lot now because they're so influential, but people didn't do that sort of finger-picking style where they're plucking a bass line with their thumb while they're doing a sort of, bossa nova almost inspired strumming.
Well, yeah, like slow finger picking almost. Boom, 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 boom. And it was supposed to sound French.
Yes. Pardon me. I'm choking on my ball head. No, yes, and they did it in one take, and then Paul added the rest of the stuff. It was done in one day. But yes, like you were saying, it was based on like these Austin Mitchell all-night French parties that he would have, right? And Paul would play guitar, and he played that song to make girls think he knew French.
So girls would think he was French. He thought, well, they might assume I'm French.
Right.
At his age, he thought, well, girls will go for a French guy. So back to McCartney with all his women, he was always thinking, well, what will attract more women?
Exactly. And then they just would always reuse material from the past, so they brought it back.
When it was John that said, why don't you do that song, that crazy French song you did? Why don't you do that?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And then Ivan Vaughn, who actually introduced Lennon to McCartney. Good job, Ivan. His wife was a French teacher, and Paul was like asking her what the thing is. She came up with a bunch of the lyrics.
Yeah. How do you say this?
Yeah, how do you say this? And what rhymes with Michelle? And she said my belle, and she came up with that,
which is great.
And yes, and he actually said he sent her a check later on.
Because then he said, "How do you say this in French?" And she went, "Oh, sont les mots qui vont très bien ensemble." And he went, writing this down,
And a lot of this stuff is from a book called Many Years From Now by Barry Miles, which I'll put a link in the description. All right, now we'll go on to side 2. You guys are great. This is a long conversation, but I hope you guys are finding it entertaining. Captain Lovehandles is in the house. Captain Lovehandles, all you need is Lovehandles, Captain Lovehandles. We're glad you're here, man. Captain Lovehandles is fantastic. All right, here we go here. Blah, 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 blah. Michelle, What Goes On was one of John Lennon's early songs also. So that was another one they brought in from the past, and he was like, "We'll let Ringo sing this piece of garbage."
Almost as old as Michelle. It was almost as old as Michelle, and John had this crazy country song that he probably 1960 or so. And so for this record, you see they were bringing out older stuff because they really needed to fill an album by Christmas. And John says, "Okay, I'll do this old one," and I think he was going to sing it. And it's like you said, they went, "Oh, this is kind of a corny country song. Let's give it to Ringo. We'll even give him a writing credit."
And they gave him uniquely. It's a Lennon,
McCartney, and
Starkey writing credit. And he said he wrote like 5 words or something. And apparently there was a demo recorded by Paul, but it hasn't appeared.
I thought it was John, but no, I've never heard it.
And yeah, Neil Aspinall said that Paul made a demo to show Ringo how it worked, man, and he recorded parts himself, but it's never been released.
Well, I want to hear it now.
Yeah, exactly. All right, the last song recorded for Rubber Soul was "Girl," which was mostly written by John Lennon, and it's sort of about an ideal woman sort of thing, a dream girl, if you will, and they try to do it like a Tin Pan Alley sort of style. But that sharp intake of breath. What do you think? Was he doing was that supposed to be sexual, or was he talking about marijuana?
It seems druggy. It seems kind of druggy because
Yeah, it does.
around Rubber Soul, they were really trying to push the envelope, and they were trying to get drug culture references, and they were also getting sexual innuendo in there as much as they could. So you know the thing about the
Yes,
backing vocals
tons of
on
it.
Girl, right?
Right. They say, dudes, tell the story. The backing vocals on Girl.
Well, it kind of sounds like they're going doot 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 doot, but they're not. George and Paul are saying tit, tit.
Going,
So it's
tit,
about a
tit,
girl,
tit, tit, tit,
and they're saying tit
What
tit tit tit. And when you know that, you can't not
Yeah.
hear it. It's tit 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 with the intake of like dragging on a reefer, and this was their subversive way of maybe indoctrinating,
Totally, man.
the teen culture.
And George Martin was like, "Were you saying dit or
What are you
tit?" And they were
doing?
saying dit, and they were saying dit, and he's like, "Oh, it sounded like tit," and they were like,
I'm sorry,
'Cause he was
lads.
the dad.
What are you saying
Yeah,
there?
Yeah, it's so funny.
Sounds a bit like
and
tit.
It's so funny that they did that. They had a whole bunch of hidden
Mhm.
like curse words and slang in the songs.
Well, it's funny because it's not on this album, but Paperback Writer, they're singing Frere Jacques as the background vocal. Frere Jacques. But on this one, they actually got tit in there on a very popular record.
Right. And it's if you listen to it now, it's that part where he goes, "When she's with, she's looking good. She acts as if she understood it's
Tit, 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 tit,
Yeah, it's like that.
Yep.
All right. Okay, cool. All right, hold on a second here.
Mwah.
Fish and finger pie was another one.
Oh my gosh, yes.
All right, cool. Hold on a second.
Floor
here.
of fish and
I'm looking
finger
through.
pie. As a kid,
Yeah.
what's a finger
What song
pie?
was that from?
Penny
Fish
Lane.
and finger pie.
Penny Lane.
Yeah.
And you think,
I
what's
mean, Penny Lane, this cute song.
Yeah.
That's a vagina reference, guys.
As a kid, I thought, oh, in England, they must have things called finger pies. They're probably little pies. How
Yeah,
tasty must that be?
All right. That. Thank you, audience.
Oh, those Beatles.
Those Beatles. All right, I'm looking through you. We're gonna get. That's the other Jane Asher.
That's another Jane
disagreement
Asher.
song. And he said something like he remembered that he was writing that song and a lot of other things up in that room at his parents' house.
Yeah.
And he said, here's the quote. My whole existence, this is Paul McCartney, my whole existence for so long centered around a bachelor life. I didn't treat women as most people do. I've always had a lot around, even when I've had a steady girl. My life generally has been very lax and not normal. I knew it was selfish. It caused a few rows. Jane left me once and went off to Bristol to act. I said, okay, then leave. I'll find someone else. It was shattering to be without her. Not shattering enough that
No.
you just let her go. You know, so it's just funny that he kind of admitted to that. I guess after a while, you sort of realize that there's more to life and you want to be with somebody that's more of a partner.
He
you know?
became much more self-aware later.
Yeah. when
Almost
Linda came into the
self-critical at
picture.
times, where he could be really honest about kind of what a bastard he was. And Lennon was a bastard too, but in very different ways, you know. But Paul lived long enough to become very self-aware and reflective about it. But you know, it's so Paul to write a song called "I'm Looking Through You" like it's her problem and it's her fault.
Right. Yes.
You know?
Exactly. All the songs are about how she's being like unreasonable, and she's just mad. She's just mad because he's cheating on her constantly.
And they say you're not the same, you know. But it's him.
Captain Lovehandles is saying dueling falsettos. Thank you. All right, cool. All right, now
That
we're
was pretty
getting
nice.
to the meat of this thing. In My Life, which is possibly John Lennon's best song, one of them, he cites it along with Strawberry Fields Forever, I Am the Walrus, and Help as his best songs.
Yeah.
He had a complete set of lyrics after, you know, and but it was like it was like a list of the places in town, and it stunk. Like you could see the you know, he had and he was like, this is terrible, but he had In My Life I Love Them All kind of. He had the chorus, I think, but it was like I saw the train station and I saw the place where we used to get beers and stuff. And then he finally had a breakthrough, I guess, you know. But this is funny because this is one of the two songs that he and McCartney disagreed on what the right who wrote what. This and Eleanor Rigby were the two, and so like here John said that he wrote everything, and that Paul helped out with the middle eight a little bit, and
Paul has always said he was.
Paul says that he was instrumental in writing it. Yes,
he felt like it was very equal. I think Paul said this was one of their eye to eye songs where they equally contributed, and John always said, "That's mine. That one was mine." Who's to say?
Yeah, I know. Who's to say, really? I mean,
melodically, there's a lot of that kind of sweet McCartney melody here, but John was capable of that, you know.
Yeah, he was. It's true. And actually, Paul said that when talking about it. He was like, if you listen to it and really analyze the writing of it, it sounds like a me song. But, you know, they wrote together. You know, okay. So, wait. We own just a couple of songs left because then we're going to go into the Beatles fashion reactions, which you guys are going to love. All right. Oh, yeah. So, no. In my life, well, let's just talk quickly about George Martin played the solo on that. Okay.
Oh, we're back to In My Life.
Yeah. So really quickly, because you want to talk about that?
Yeah. Have you heard? There's a bootleg recording that's out where it's In My Life and it's the same take, but it's got a really chintzy sounding organ solo.
Yes.
Yeah. I
haven't heard it. I have not heard it, but the quote I've
got a copy of that, and it sounds terrible. Maybe because you know how great it could sound with the Baroque piano, but something that they did an awful lot with their records was they would play it at half speed and record a part. And then when it went back to regular speed, it was playing twice as fast. So George Martin actually played that piano solo half as fast. And then when they went to the Beatles at regular speed, it sounded like a harpsichord and it sounded like this Baroque piece, but they had done that on Misery was the first time they did that twice up piano speed thing. And then they did it on Rocky Raccoon and they did it on Abbey Road during the medley. But that's why it sounds so classical. And I don't think
it's funny because it was because George couldn't play the thing fast enough.
Yeah, he was like, you slow it down to half speed. Do, 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 do. But then sped up, he sounds like he was a genius, but that really makes the song.
He really was.
That much better. It takes it to the next level.
It truly does. All right. Yeah. Okay.
Let's just talk about In My Life for the rest of the show.
I know. Seriously, it's an amazing song. I used to DJ weddings and I played it all the time.
Nobody gets burned in that one.
Nope. No one gets killed.
No one gets murdered.
That's like an EC comic. Wait. Till I come back to your side was supposed to be on Help.
Yeah. It wasn't part of this record.
They exhumed it for Rubber Soul. It was written while they were filming in the Help in the Bahamas, and it was included to be on the sound. It was meant for the soundtrack, but then I think that they replaced it with like Long Tall Sally or something because it thought it had more energy.
Dizzy Miss Lizzy.
Dizzy Miss Lily. Dizzy.
Yeah. So the English version of the album closes with Dizzy Miss Lizzy because they needed a really like balls to the wall rock and roll album closer.
Right. And so that's why it's amazing because it's amazing to think that they would cut something, but I guess they knew they would use it. And so then
they were the Beatles.
They were the Beatles, man. It's just crazy that I never realized. I found that out today or yesterday rather that it was supposed to be on Help.
It'll be for Help.
If I needed someone, the guitar line was was inspired by Roger McGuinn's guitar work for the Byrds.
Which is so funny because Roger McGuinn got a 12-string because of George Harrison.
Right.
And then what he did with the 12-string, George Harrison went, he's really good.
They were influencing each other. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of shades of Dylan, always shades of Dylan.
Lots of Dylan on this record.
Yeah, totally. And so, and if you listen, you really can hear that beat. It sounds like Roger McGuinn's playing it almost, man.
It sounds like the Byrds.
All right, so if I needed something, and then George Harrison said, if I needed someone, because it's a Harrison song, obviously. If I needed someone, it's like a million other songs written around a D chord. if you move your finger about, you get various little melodies.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nothing to it.
And you keep your hand in the same spot.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing. And it also, it's sort of they say in the Beatles Bible that it sort of references his new interest in Indian music because it's just built around one chord.
Yeah, and which
like
he got
rain
further and further
or,
into, right? After that first sitar on Norwegian Wood, George got much more mystical and magical and Indian influence as he went on.
I absolutely love that stuff. All right, so, and I should mention that George Harrison viewed this as the first half of a double album with Revolver. Like, he looked at them as a connected unit.
He did at one point, didn't he? He said they were interchangeable, which they're not.
Yeah, he said they were.
They have their very own identity.
They're very different to me too, but I mean, maybe that's just because of how we experienced them.
Well, and especially the U.S. version of Rubber Soul is, to me, worlds apart from.
It really is, and we'll talk about that in a minute. All right, really quickly, Run for Your Life. It was based around a line from an Elvis song, so you probably have things to talk about there.
Well, yeah, a lot of people object to Run for Your Life because they think it's kind of Lennon being misogynistic, and they're shocked by that line. I'd rather see you dead, little girl, than to be with another man. And it was atypical for the Beatles, but you have to realize that John was constantly hearkening back to the 1950s, and he was always obsessed with 50s rock and roll. And on Abbey Road, he had that Chuck Berry line, "Here come old flat top, he come grooving up slowly." That was from Chuck Berry's "You Can't Catch Me." And John used that line, and it's the exact same thing with Run for Your Life. So Elvis Presley had a record called "Baby Let's Play House," and it wasn't an Elvis original, of course. He was covering a someone else, a rhythm and blues number, but certainly, John heard it from Elvis for sure. But it's got that line, where you've got the upright bass going thump 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 thump, and he's singing, "I'd rather see you dead, little girl, than to be with another man." And so John took that and went, "I'd rather see you dead, little girl, than to be with another man." And it's the exact same thing. But I think a lot of the Beatle people in the mid '60s didn't realize, oh yeah, Elvis sang that. And I think John got a lot of his ideas referencing other things.
I never realized that was an Elvis song. We've got Matt, who was on the show last week in the house. What's up? And Georgia Constitution Media says he likes that song. I don't know what song you're talking about, man, but I like them all.
Awesome
They're
facts.
all pretty good. Awesome facts. Yeah, exactly. So awesome facts. They are good facts, man. They really are.
Cheers, Matt.
And you know what's funny, man? We'll wrap this up, and then you can talk about the American version real quick before we do the reactions. But John Lennon did not like this song, "Run for Your Life." He thought it was his least favorite Beatles song.
It's not a great song.
He said it was just a knockoff.
Yeah.
It was just a vague connection. It was a ripoff of "Baby Let's Play House," and he didn't think it was that that important of a song.
Well, and as interesting and as influential as this record proved to be, it's funny how much of it was just written under the wire.
They pulled it together.
Yeah, they pulled it together. They just threw this stuff together, and it really is, it's like you said, there may have been other groups at the time, but this was the Beatles. It was almost like they could do no wrong at that time.
Yeah, I know. It's like a work of total genius, and it's like a song pulled from an other record that just randomly, but they all feel together, and they actually recorded some stuff, I think, on that weight to make it fit with their new sound a little bit. They did a couple of overdubs.
Yeah.
But okay, so listen, tell me, man. Hold on a second. Let's get rid of this. Tell me, hold on, where is it? Record. Oh, Yesterday and Today. I'm gonna get the album cover. Tell us about Yesterday and Today, or tell us about the U.S. version.
Well, so first there was Rubber Soul, and then Yesterday and Today kind of goes hand in hand with what we're talking about, because so many of these songs we just discussed ended up in America on Yesterday and Today. But it was because in America, and a lot of people think Capitol cheaped out and just wanted to milk it for all it was worth. And in some ways that was true. I mean, there was a double album set called The Beatles Story that was just a nonsense cash grab, right? But Rubber Soul, they took 4 of the songs that we just talked about off of the UK version and added 2 songs to the US version, and they completely changed the identity of the album. So for me,
I know, it's crazy. We got. I'm sorry to interrupt you. We got Songwriter X in the house. Yeah, it's crazy. It's completely different. I listened to the U.S. version earlier today, and it has a completely different feel.
it's almost like a folk record, right?
Right.
And that was the idea. Dave Dexter was the guy at Capitol who, it's called dexterizing. He dexterized their records, and people have very mixed opinions about this, but at the end of the day, he was just trying to market them to an American audience, and clearly it worked.
Right.
But with Rubber Soul, they took off most of the really electric songs, and they added a couple of more acoustic songs. And you know, at the time, look at the things that were happening in folk music in America, how popular that was. And it was almost like they were able to, without a whole lot of tweaking, they created a Beatles folk album. And so me growing up,
it's amazing.
Drive My Car is this hard driving rock song. And the first time I heard the UK Rubber Soul, it just sounded so odd and out of place to me, because the American version starts with I've Just Seen a Face, which is a really kind of chugging acoustic guitar strumming.
I love that.
Beautiful song. And you have to think, you know, Capitol didn't just bury this on the record to change out the track listing. Side 1, track 1 is I've Just Seen a Face, changes the whole feel of the album. So when you go from I've Just Seen a Face into Norwegian Wood, the mood is very, so many of us grew up with that version of the record. And it wasn't just side 1. Side 2, they put It's Only Love, which is another acoustic kind of folky, but this is a Lennon song. It's track 1 on side 2. So both sides of the album in America open with something completely different in sound and feel to what was on the English version. It's such a different album. And so having grown up, you know, part of it must be nostalgia. Yes, I grew up with that album from the time I was a baby, and we have visual proof that I had that album when I was a baby. And
hold on,
you know, then to hear it in that form for your entire, you know, upbringing, then the UK version just sounds odd. So I would argue that the American version is superior, and the reason is What Goes On is kind of a kooky country song. It's a twangy, crazy country song that Ringo sings, opening side 2. And there's some great tracks that they took off, like Nowhere Man, If I Needed Someone, are amazing songs, Drive My Car. But for us in America, Yesterday and Today opened with Drive My Car. So you had this rocking, cool, like, and that intro, by the way, is so out of time that people have a very hard time covering that song. So listen to the intro of Drive My Car, and the guitar and the bass and the drum when it comes in, they're all doing completely different things. I don't know how they all come together.
The other stuff, it's the songs that they pulled from Revolver.
Yeah.
Like,
but for Yesterday and
Dr.
Today,
Robert, and
again, growing up in America, Yesterday and Today was not just a slap together bunch of odds and ends. Because you think about it, Drive My Car, Nowhere Man, If I Needed Someone, and What Goes On kind of sit very comfortably alongside Day Tripper and We Can Work It Out, which was a single. And
yeah, it's kind of a punk rock record almost, huh?
And it's odd because they took Act Naturally from the British Help album, and they took What Goes On from the British Rubber Soul. And so you've got 2 Ringo songs, and both Ringo country songs. So yes, it's an oddball assortment of songs, but it goes together really well.
I'm gonna have to get it. So I'm going to ask you a quick question about the Capitol pressings.
Yeah.
So if I get a Capitol press, like I got a Capitol pressing of the Beatles' second album, and I got one of Revolver, right? And they're both in mono.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know, are they fold downs from stereo, or are they real authentic mono made from the mono tracks?
If you've got a copy of Beatles' second album on vinyl, it's a fold down. That's fold down from stereo. So not only did Dave Dexter add echo to the songs to make them sound more American, a bit more like surfy, and punchy, and they really do. They rock. But the fold down, I don't like it because it's dexterized stereo. Some of it is duophonic, meaning electronically reprocessed stereo, and then all that mishmash is folded down to mono. But Revolver is true mono mixes. So
It sounds pretty good.
it's
I mean, I was
beautiful.
surprised at how good the Capitol pressing of Revolver sounded.
Well, and you know, with
Because the early Capitol pressings I have sound very tinny and hard to listen to.
you mentioned on Yesterday and Today that they actually had some Revolver songs. 3 of John's songs were previewed on Yesterday and Today to American audiences before they ever came out on Revolver in England. And we're talking about different mixes. So because those were mixed for mono and stereo, 2 unique mixes to be included in advance on Yesterday and Today in America, they were remixed again for mono and stereo in England for Revolver months later. So there are unique stereo and mono mixes of I'm Only Sleeping, Dr. Robert, and Your Bird Can Sing. And they have 4 different mixes per song. There's US mono, US stereo, UK mono, and UK stereo, and they all have noticeable differences.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're talking about, man, so if you get Yesterday and Today, are those fold downs or are they better?
No, true mono and true stereo mixes.
Okay, Yesterday and Today is a good record to get, guys. Thank you for that. Of the Capitol pressings, it sounds like that and Revolver are some of the really good ones.
Those to me really, because George said Rubber Soul and Revolver were like part 1 and part 2. In America, Yesterday and Today and Revolver were part 1 and part 2. They go together. You could almost do those as a double album, the way that, the track sequencing on Yesterday and Today leads into Revolver, which of course was the same as the UK Revolver minus 3 songs.
Yeah, Songwriter X agrees with you that the American version of Rubber Soul is better. And
thank you.
George,
absolutely right.
Media, yeah, and your bird can sing. Yeah, that. Now I'm gonna have to get and also when you get Yesterday and Today, you have the chance of getting a Butcher cover.
A very slim chance nowadays, but
right.
I have a friend in Virginia who went to this this thing called the Big Flea, and it's what it sounds like. It was a big flea market, and he was going through records, and Yesterday and Today has that cover that you showed, but if you look over in the blank white area, Ringo was wearing a black turtleneck, and you can see his black turtleneck showing under the word Today, and so he was at a flea market in Virginia, looked, saw it. He got the record for like $2, and it was a Butcher cover paste over.
Man,
you can still find them.
Cover. If you guys don't know what the Butcher cover is, I don't have a picture of it, but it basically was the first version of the cover had them with blood, like they looked like butchers, and they had a bunch of baby dolls, and it was like bloody meat.
It was bloody hunks of meat, decapitated baby dolls. They were wearing butcher smocks, and it's funny because I always had the impression that was just a screw up, and everyone went, "What were we thinking?" But Capitol Records balked at that. They said, "We don't want to do that," and the Beatles insisted, "Yeah, this is our cover. We're going a bit more avant-garde. That's our cover." And a lot of people thought it was a commentary on the American records, kind of chopping up the songs and putting them in different order. Sort of what we were just talking about, that they felt that their records were butchered. And since then, the Beatles said, that wasn't what it was. We did a lot of photos that day with a lot of weird concepts, and we just really liked that image. But Capitol put it out, and record stores were sending them back wholesale. They wouldn't even put it out for sale. And so they came up with that pasted over cover.
That's crazy. All right. On that note, we're at 10, so let's go into our reaction room, okay? All right, guys, this is gonna be fun. We're gonna say, you guys, I want you to react. Are these fab? Are these fab or drab? Okay. All right. This is for fashion. And Thommy, you're a fashion maven, so you should have good reactions to these. All right, here we go. Number 1, fab or drab? Hold on, I gotta put them behind everything else. Let me put these. I don't know why. Hold on, the react.
I should give other people a chance to weigh in, right?
Yeah, are they fab or drab? You tell me what you think.
They're fab. Ringo's a little drab.
They're fab.
Paul is very fab.
Yeah, he looks pretty good. All right, he's fab. Good. All right, fab or drab. So we're saying fab on that. We got any fabs?
We got a fab. We got another fab there.
We got a fab. We got one drab.
Captain Lovehandles. No love for...
One drab from Captain
for that
Lovehandles.
picture.
Okay, cool. All right, here's another. This is a good one. I mean, I'm saying fab.
I'm saying
on this,
fab.
no doubt. Look how fly they look.
Even if it's not fab, it's definitely not drab.
We have a drab from Songwriter X on the left.
Okay.
Weigh in on this one. Yeah, there's a fab on this. Paper Bag Man is saying this is drab.
How do you, Paul and John I could see, but how do you say that George and Ringo are drab? Look at those outfits.
Yeah, these are fabs.
They're super fly.
Yeah, and when there's actually another angle of this, I believe, and you'll see George has a necktie actually printed on his shirt. So it's pretty cool. All right, let's go to the next one. I love this one. Fab, or look at Ringo's bangs, man. I'm look at Paul's double-breasted white. I'm saying drab on this.
Even George does not look comfortable here.
Sports Talk, SG Sports Talk gave a bunch of fabs for the last one.
Very fab.
I'm not gonna hit ding 57
They're
times
right.
again for it. Yeah, George's pants are killer. Yeah, this is a little drab. What do you think, Tommy?
To me, again, George doesn't even look convinced.
Yeah, exactly, drab.
And Ringo is definitely kindergarten school photo hair.
I know. And what is that? Whatever that pin is they have on their shirt is not working for me.
But then I do love Paul's outfit because I always love Paul's outfit.
Yeah, but that double breast, man. I don't know. We're getting a lot of drabs.
He wore a lot of like funky gangster stuff, and he's gonna bring it into the '60s. But Paul was obsessed with the 1920s. So seeing him in a white double-breasted jacket, there's so many interviews with him where he said, "I wish I was a band leader in the '20s, man." So that's got to be what he's doing.
We have tons of drabs on this one. Okay, got a lot of universal drabs. All right.
I'm saying drab.
Let's go cool, Gertie.
Very fab.
Look at those freaking boots. I'm like fab.
They're fab and gear.
Yeah. This is so gear, man. Look at Ringo rolling his eyes. Oh my gosh, I'm waiting to see what you guys react to this because I think it's really fab.
Ringo's rolling his eyes and George looks like, oh, come on. John's matter of fact, but then look at Paul like, oh, hi, I'm Paul. Look at me. It's no wonder everybody loved him.
I know. He's like, oh, playing it up for the camera. George is like, I'm trying to read the news.
Oh, you must take the picture.
Fab, yeah. I know. The boots are really fly, right? Because it's a Constitution media. I agree. I mean, I was like, man, those are so cool.
Cuban heels.
And it's interesting, man, because, it looks like they're wearing these lame kind of outfits or whatever, sort of. I mean, like, they're all wearing the same suit. But when you see, and I know you have, when you see color photos of them dressed down slightly or taking off the jacket, those shirts are dope.
Yeah.
They're cool. They really are.
Very crisp. And the collar shapes and the cuffs, they weren't just like boring shirts.
No, they weren't.
We got some fab for the boots there too. Look at that.
Yeah, we got a lot of fab. We got fabs all across. All right, here's classic. All right. I'm just gonna say as an aside, they were told by the photographer to just gaze into the camera and think, "I love you, I love you, I love you." So they're looking. That's them looking at you guys and thinking they love you. Look at that. George Harrison looks like somebody stole his ice cream.
They love you, but George is pissed.
I mean, this is a classic album cover and everything, but I mean, I don't know, man. I like it. But it's very of its time.
It works for the concept of the record, but you wouldn't see them walking down the street like this.
Right. No. Paper Bag Man thinks it's fab, though. I can't really disagree with that. I mean, it's classic.
Fab's not quite. I don't know. I'm not getting. I have to think of the right word for this.
I know. It's not like go out to a party and hang out with people. But it's cool. I mean, look at his feet, though, man. Look at Paul's shoes. They had killer. They were great outfits. We have to admit it. I'm gonna say we're getting fabs throughout the chat. All right, let's get back to.
And it is the Beatles. It's Sgt. Pepper. Who am I to say?
Exactly. Who are you to say? All right. Here's a good one. Fab or drab? I mean, look at Paul's shirt and jacket.
Fab.
And yeah, fab. Look at Ringo's purple polka dotted shirt.
And with the high collar. Even as
George. Go ahead.
It's funny because John and Paul in the front look like ketchup and mustard, but they're still fab.
Yeah, it's Captain Lovehandles, I think, talking about the last one. George is going for that.
Look at the collars. Look at Paul's collars are like bigger than you like.
Oh, I know. And I love the color of John's blazer is fantastic. I think we're fab. And look at the picture behind. Somebody drew a terrible drawing of them.
We're getting some fab here.
Yeah, fab. Look at the drawing behind them. Somebody drew a picture of them. Look.
Yeah, a bit. I guess that's Paul there, huh? And George's eyes over Ringo's head.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of scary.
A little scary.
The dark
right,
Beatles.
Hold on. Drab or fab?
Jollocking.
This is for a kids show, obviously. I'm saying fab. Chaos fab. Hey, Mr. Michael Andrews, what's up? Welcome. Welcome in. What do you think, fab or drab, Michael Andrews? I'm saying fab. I like George's crescent moon and his nightcap and his crescent moon and his thing. But yeah, it's for a kid's show. But I thought it was funny because it just was crazy to see them. I'd never seen this photo. Here's another one. Similar time.
Same show.
Same shot. Yeah, you can see John in his. Hold on.
I like the hair.
I know, fab. This is fab.
John was a damsel.
Right. For the kids. Yeah, fab. Everyone say for the kids, fab. Absolutely, fab. Flab, says Captain Lovehandles. All right, hold on a second. I got a couple more. Oh, I have one more. This is a great one. This is not even the Beatles themselves. It's a fan. Look. This hat.
Fab.
Yes. Completely fab.
The fabbest.
Look. I know, right? The hat is a stage, Tommy.
Yeah. Yeah. Her
That's fab.
Her barbershop quartet Shakey's hat is a stage.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
And she's got a Paul button on there.
Yeah, she's got a Paul. Let's see what the Paul button says. Hold on. Since we're here, let's take a closer look.
It must say she loves him.
And she's got like, yep.
Look at that.
She cut them out, yeah, and she put them
probably
in.
From a magazine. Very creative. Look at her.
Uh-huh. And it says, with love from me to you.
Signed Paul McCartney.
Paul McCartney.
And her hair is kind of Norman Bates' mother hair, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It really is. That's good.
Pushing boundaries.
Man, all right, well, guys, this has been a fantastic program.
I love her.
I love her, too. I think she's great. I appreciate her. I love her. I love you, man. I'm glad that we
I love you, too.
Had this time to chat. I love Paper Bag Man. I love Captain Lovehandles. I love Songwriter X and the Skeleton Band. I love KR. I love Michael Andrews. I love Georgia Constitution Media. And I love, if there's any other person who's watching and they didn't chat, I love you, too.
For watching.
For watching. Because all you need is love. And I was inspired by the song The Word.
The Word is love.
Embrace love. On that note, guys, have a wonderful weekend. Thank you, Thommy Burns. Thank you guys all for being here. Let me turn the chat on. Hold on. The chat's weirdly not showing up. There it is.
I see it. I see it.
Yep. Hold on. Thanks, KR. I love you guys too, man. And I'm gonna be, if you guys are at Toylanta tomorrow in Atlanta, come see me. I'm gonna be walking around in my Meat World form. Telling jokes. Yeah, Toylanta tomorrow with Captain Lovehandles. We love you too, man. All right, peace out, guys.
Toylanta.
Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll catch you next weekend.
And a 1, and a 2.
1, 2, 3. Dennis ball, Dennis ball. The world outside is making me
Kingdom Ramblers, Bambi, Ricky, Jazz. It's a real Dennis Ball song. I'm gonna cry.